Hello everyone and welcome back to Millicraft and welcome to our next tutorial on Souls of Minecraft. Mwahahaha. All joking aside, today we are going to be talking about the Souls of Minecraft. Now, Minecraft doesn't have a lot of lore. I mean, it definitely has lore, but nothing canon, and they've never given us an actual answer, but we know, there are plenty of theories going about, and of course we have things called soul sand and soul soil, soul torches, all the soul things. So let's go over these unusual blocks and their uses today. Here we see the lost and trapped souls of Minecraft. Now, you might not ever actually see these if you've never gone into the Nether. You may not have seen these blocks. If you've never gone into the ancient cities or the deep dark, you may never have seen these blocks. But we're going to go over a couple of these basic, interesting blocks and the weirdness of these soul blocks, I'm going to call them. And I had to draw the particles in pixels so you could see what the particles look like, because we're going to be walking over this soul soil and soul sand here in a second. But let's go over these blocks. Now, if you go into the Nether, at some point you are going to find a soul sand valley, and they're going to be covered in these blocks. As of 1.16.5, which was ages ago in 2020, these blocks came out. Some of these blocks actually existed earlier, but soul soil came out later, and some of these cool soul torches, soul fires, etc. came in the Nether expansion. So the Nether update, we got these cool blocks. Something really cool about soul soil and soul sand. Soul sand's been around a long time. This is the most recent texture. As you can kind of see, they have faces, very similar faces to what we see up there, only in brown. In the brown tans, they have screamy faces. They're very creepy. And when you walk on them, you get a slowed effect. You don't get that from this soul soil, but you do get it from soul sand. It kind of slows you down, unless you have soul speed on your boots. So if we put on soul speed boots, you're going to get a speed effect instead. And if we turn around, you're going to see that that soul speed actually releases the souls within. They all release the particles when you have the soul speed, because I guess in lore, if you want to say that, if we have a whole block full of souls, you're going to release that in some way, shape, or form, and the speed is what the soul speed boots give you. Now, soul speed 1 through 3 can be traded with piglins. They will give you boots. They will sometimes have the soul speed on some items that you can find around the Nether. But most of the time you're going to trade gold to the piglins for this soul speed so that you can run faster. What's really cool about these blocks, besides the fact you can light them on fire and get a very cool blue flame, and you can mix them into a campfire recipe to get a blue campfire. If you make blue soul torches, which is a piece of this soul soil, then you can create the blue lantern. So those are all the different recipes that you can create using these blocks. But another thing that you can do is make speedy highways to be able to run very fast without having to have a beacon. But all you have to do is set them below some carpet if you want, and you'll still get that speed effect even without the sink in effect, which I don't know if you noticed, but when we kind of walk into this, it's a little shorter than the blocks around it. And the best way to show that is here. I don't know if you'll notice, I kind of sink down into the soul sand, just like sand. See how I step down one? Well, soul sand has a little bit of a sinky effect, but if you put carpet over it, you won't get the sinky effect, but you'll still get that slowed effect unless you put on your booties, and then you'll still get that speed effect regardless. And a lot of people use this for nether highways and other highways. Sometimes just getting around a really big base very quickly, they'll put these things underneath. So these are the blocks you can find in the Nether. mostly the soul soil and the soul sand. You can also be traded by piglins. Piglins will also trade some of these blocks as well. So if you want to make a gold farm or something along those lines to trade, you can get some of these blocks, even if you're having a difficulty finding a soul sand valley or little pockets of these. I will say you can sometimes find these around the lava layer in other biomes, along with the gravel and blackstone. They will show up in other places too. Next up, we have our next soul object, which is Skulk. Skulk has its own name. It does not have the faces. It does not have any like effects when you run around on them. Pretty much just have like a squishy sound. When you lay it down, it has a little bit of a sound. And you will find the skulk blocks with the skulk vein and the catalyst and the sensors all in the same area. Now, this block is a little special, and the block I'm hiding over there, I'm just keeping it from shrieking at the moment. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. In the deep dark, in the lowest regions of Minecraft, below 0, so you have to go into the negative numbers, you're going to find pockets of this skulk, and you're going to find the deep dark. The deep dark, if you have music on, it has its own specific music, which is very creepy. It will sometimes signal you getting near an ancient city. Sometimes it does not. Sometimes it only is just a pocket of this skulk. So the reason that I say skulk is part of our weird and wonderful soul collection, the skulk vein and the skulk blocks themselves, they don't have that texture. The catalyst, this is the catalyst, by the way. They glow at night. These have a little bit of a glow to them where these other blocks do not. So you can kind of tell if a catalyst is around because you see an area that's a little lighter colored. I don't know if you can tell, like this is a little darker green, that's a little lighter because there's light source with it. But they do have a little bit of that kind of soul-y shape to the skulk vein. You kind of see it a little bit. You have a little bit of a weird sound when you place these down. And when you go into survival mode and you break these, you get XP. This XP is gathered by collecting souls using the catalyst. So if we had a whole bunch of zombies around a catalyst, it would spread this skulk and these skulk veins, and possibly some of these other objects will appear, like the sensors and the shrieker, which I'm hiding over here. So this is the shrieker. I didn't want him screaming while we're doing this, but we can let those guys like blobble blobble for a bit. But they are a good way of transforming and keeping XP, we're going to say from souls, because it very much seems like that. And you can also pick these up with Silk Touch. Now, all of those blocks could be farmed as normal, like your overworld blocks, except for obviously a campfire is going to need a Silk Touch to pick up. Skulk itself is going to need a Silk Touch weapon or a Silk Touch tool. So surprisingly enough, it is a hoe is your best bet for mining these up. You can use pickaxes and whatnot. It will mine it up, but a Silk Touch hoe is going to be your fastest bet. It's also going to be able to pick these skulk veins up as well. And you can gather all of these different things and take it up to the surface. If you need it to be reproducible, you can get one of these guys, the catalyst, and put the catalyst out in the world somewhere and kill mobs around it, and that will spread this skulk. So something to do with taking out a mob and having all that XP converted into a skulk is kind of the part of the soul that you see. And what's interesting is in an ancient city, you're going to actually find this soul soil burning with fires underneath the big portal thing that they have. You're also going to find all of these blue lanterns. So at some point, these old ancient builders that had this also knew how to utilize this soul technology into creating light sources as well. So a couple things to take into consideration as you go, especially into when you're wanting to build with these things. Catalysts they'll spawn with the world. They will also very rarely spawn in a skulk farm if you're using another catalyst. They will show up on occasions. More often, you're going to get the skulk vein and the skulk block, and you're going to get this sensor here, and really rarely you're going to get the shriekers, which I'll show off in a second. You can also get them by killing a warden, which I am not going to spawn a warden in, even though a warden... Here, I'm going to put a picture of a warden up on the screen right now. And if you notice, the warden's tummy, his little belly thing, also has this design next to it. It also has that kind of soul look to its stomach area. So we're going to say that the warden also is the warden of souls in this case, at least in my lore headcanon it is. And it wants no more souls. It wants to be able to gather more souls and convert them into this skulk that we have laying around here. And in doing so, it has sensors. Sensors, you have to either sneak around it, and there is a swift sneak that helps you walk faster, or you're going to create sound. Then, once you have this guy, we're going to take up a couple of these guys here real quick. And once you get the movement going, it's going to set off the shriekers. Shriekers are the callers of the warden, and these guys also have your soul, the soul design. Now, the brighter the soul design, the more apt it's going to summon a warden, and they will only summon in wardens if they are in the place where they were originally spawned in. So if you go into a world and you go into a deep dark, you go into an ancient city, these will be glowing bright green, and they will summon a warden after 3 shrieks. And if you are not careful, the warden will get you. But if it grows anywhere else in the world, you're going to get this duller color that you see spinning around right now. And that will not summon a warden, but it will be loud and obnoxious. So it does make a really good prank. I like that a lot. There's a couple other blocks that you can create from these skulk sensors. You can create calibrated ones. The calibrated sensors will allow you to do all sorts of additional redstone things. This is our wireless system for redstone, so you can have triggers. One tick basically, so I walk, it triggers almost immediately because it sends that signal. As you kind of see, the signal kind of goes across and hits the sensor, or hits the screamer. All of those sensors can be calibrated using redstone and this block, and you can kind of see the redstone, little redstone particles off of these to show that that's what they're doing. And in the ancient cities, you'll see that they had a huge redstone scientific lab, and that's really cool to kind of look at. I wish they had incorporated some of these sensors into the ancient city when those were created, just so we can see how they're used. Now, one thing I like to do as a prank, and I'm not going to go into all the redstone functionality that there is on these blocks, is you can waterlog these fellows so you don't hear that like bloop 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 sound. Hold on, let me shut him up for a second, and we're going to remove this guy for a sec. Now, right now, as I walk around without the wool, it makes that bloop bloop sound. You can actually waterlog these, and then they will still create a signal. I don't know if you can see that, like, see how it's lighting up and such. And if I take this out, it will still create that, but without the blub 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 sound. So that is one way you can hide these somewhere in somebody's base with one of these. It's kind of just a cute way of pranking someone without it pranking somebody hard, and it's pretty harmless, and people can just find it later, as long as you're not using like 24 of those. I have seen people use like 24 of those, and it's really loud and very scary. So just be careful, you know who your friend is, that they're okay with being pranked like that. now to wrap up our episode on our soul blocks with a couple ideas that you can use in your builds yourself. I've already gone over how you can use these to create very fast runny platforms. You could also use it as a trap. Now, if somebody didn't have soul speed, you could use this as a trap and it would slow them down, but maybe you want them to be fast. Maybe you want them to not have the booties and they walk into your build and they have to creep along because it's under a carpet and nobody knows that it's there. You can use all of these blue light sources, and they are a very light source. They are dimmer than regular fire, etc. So if you want to make a very creepy dungeon, it's a really good use, and it's also spawn proof up to a certain amount. Go check out my lighting video for the lighting levels of these things. I think they're around a 5 or so. They are safe around ice typically, which is really nice. They also burn hotter than regular campfires. So if I went into survival mode, I'm gonna lose a lot more health very quickly on a soul campfire than I am a regular campfire, and that includes in this fire too, and I'm gonna catch on fire, but I'm on peaceful here. A lot of people prefer to use their soul campfires in their mob farms if they're having like creepers or something along those lines dying in these campfires, just because they'll go faster. Or a guardian farm. And actually, I don't know if you can see it from here, but there's actually kind of a soul texture on the base too when these are lit, which is kind of cool. Cool things that you can do with Skulk is you can keep them all kind of locked up, and that you can use them for XP if you don't have like an XP bottle or something along those lines. A lot of people really like building with these as a decorative block because they are very pretty. So if we wanted to have, let's make a ceiling of these real quick. They make a very pretty starry ceiling, and they have movement, which is really cool. So if you want just a little bit of movement in places or a little sparkle in places, it would be good to keep these blocks around and get a silk touch hoe or something along those lines so you have a lot of this in your build. The catalysts are pretty cool because you can also, if you're using it in a floor, you can use these catalysts as a little bit of a hidden light source. They don't blink. If you notice that these guys like blink, but the catalysts do not. So they don't move, so you can also find a catalyst that way. They also have a really cool side texture, if you notice, and they have a really interesting bottom texture. So if you have a lot of these, they're harder to find unless you get a Skulk farm, but if you have a lot of these, it might make a very cool bottom texture or something along those lines if you're in a ceiling. And they sound like bone blocks, which everybody loves the sound of bone blocks. What kind of lore do you build on these in your head? What kind of lore does Minecraft have for us? We might not know. We might not know. We may never know. They're probably never going to tell us, honestly. So it's all whatever we decide. What do you use these blocks for? Do you use the Skulk? Do you use soul sand in anything? I didn't even go over the fact that... Oh, shoot. I didn't even go over the fact that soul sand can make bubble columns. Oh gosh. Let's do that real quick, honestly. Before we wrap up this video completely, let's take soul sand and we're gonna put some glass. Let's, yeah, we'll put some glass around it. And let me get a water bucket. I didn't even think about this. Soul sand can create bubbles. So it can actually create a bubbly column in water. So you can make like little hot tubs. You can make bubble column elevators. Headcanon for me that this is the trap screams of the souls. Okay, I'm gonna stop being creepy now. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this rather short video. Today, we don't have any idea besides the names of these, why or how or where souls got trapped in these and why this happened or anything like that. And most likely in Minecraft, we never will find out officially. It's all going to be on our heads. So let me know in the comments below what kind of ideas are in your heads on these blocks. What do you use them for? I personally like using the soul soil a lot for terraforming. I love using skulk in ceilings and in areas that I want a little bit of a sparkle. And I just love the look of the blue lanterns. And we just found out copper is coming with green copper lanterns and green copper torches. So I can't wait to see how that's going to play into all of the colors we already have going in Minecraft. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all very, very soon. We have some other special things coming up, and Craft Wars Season 3 is just around the corner. Love you all very, very much. Give yourselves a hug from me, and don't lose your soul to the soul blocks of Minecraft. Mwahahahahahaha. Just kidding.